Hello, and welcome to another episode of Aaron's Baking Corner. Hopefully it's good. I haven't made this recipe before, so buckle up. So the episode that we're doing today was something I've been kind of sitting on for a while. Like, I had the desire to make this, I would say at least 2 or 3 months ago, and I just haven't, because making gluten-free puff pastry just sounds like a headache, especially after the fiasco of trying to make gluten-free pie dough. I don't want to get near dough for a little bit longer. But when I went up to Maryland, they had gluten-free puff pastry in a specialty store near my parents' place. So I was like, well, obviously I'm gonna get that, and then now I can make the recipe for today, which is gonna be, I mean, you already know it. I always feel like I'm gonna do a reveal, but I put in the title and the thumbnail. So what's the point? What is the point? But it's gonna be, well, obviously gluten-free McDonald's apple pies, which I believe are just apple turnovers, if I remember the term correctly from, the recipe I have is called McDonald's apple pies, but I think they're like first line, they're like, it's actually just apple turnovers. But I'm gonna call it McDonald's apple pie because that's what in my head, I'm like, oh, I kind of miss those things and I want them in my life again. And so this is the best I can do. The one downside or issue possibly with today and like the pre-made gluten-free puff pastry is it did have to travel about 9 hours in a car. Granted, I had a cooler and I had my ice cream maker sitting on top of it, so it should have stayed very cold, but we may never know. I put it in the freezer, which in hindsight, I'm like, I probably should just put that in the refrigerator in case it did thaw, because it would have been fine for a few days before I used it today. But hindsight is 2020, and I did not think of all that then. I thought of it now, when it doesn't help past Aaron. So hopefully it did not thaw and nothing bad happened to the dough. It seems fine. Like I opened it up and like took it out, and it seems like it's normal dough. But we'll find out when we make something with it if it's gonna disintegrate on me. I don't know what it's gonna do, but fingers crossed. Hopefully it's delicious. If not, the recipe says the filling goes great on ice cream. So worst case scenario, I'm just gonna make some vanilla ice cream, put that on top, and then eat that. So it's not the end of the world. We got backup plans. But I don't have any stories this week because my week has mostly just been working and editing a video. So not a whole lot has gone on. Wait, I do have an update. I have a little cactus cutting and it's got a root. So I'll put a picture probably here of the root. Hopefully you can see it. It's obviously small, but I was very excited about that the other day. I looked at it and I audibly made a sound, and I'm very happy about that. So you get to enjoy that while hopefully enjoying watching me try to make McDonald's apple pies. So first things first, let's run through those ingredients. Butter, apples, brown sugar, cinnamon, salt, lemon, cornstarch, puff pastry, heavy cream, egg, sugar. So game plan. This one, I mean, obviously because I have the pre-made gluten-free puff pastry, it's gonna be vastly easier than if I didn't have that. And so if you can eat gluten, like myself, hopefully they have that near you. If not, you're gonna have to find a recipe to make that on your own. But if you can eat gluten, I can almost guarantee that there are dozens of places around you that sell just puff pastry that you can buy, or you can make it yourself. But you have a little bit more ease of access to this pre-made kind of puff pastry if you can have gluten. So count your blessings. The first step for us is going to be to peel and cut the apples. And then once we have them all peeled and cut, then we're going to put them in a saucepan along with the juice of 1 lemon, cinnamon, brown sugar, salt, and butter. And we want to cook that until the liquid has reduced and also all the apples are kind of soft. And then you're going to make I believe the recipe calls it a slurry, which just sounds real rough to put in food, but it's a cornstarch and water just mixed together. It's gonna act as a thickening agent that you're gonna then pour into the apple filling mixture that you have, and that should thicken up a little bit more. Then you're gonna take it off heat and cool it. So you need to completely cool it. And so this recipe is relatively quick in like hands-on time, except for this cooling step is the wild card, where who knows how long it actually will take to cool. Like, I'm gonna put mine in the refrigerator and hopefully that cools it quicker because I'm trying to do this all in one night. But granted, the recipe does say that you can store the filling for, I think 3 days is what it said. So this might be a good, make the filling the night before and then make the actual pies the next day, just to not require you to sit around for a few hours. But I'm gonna be sitting around for a few hours because I did not feel like doing a 2-day filming thing. I just kind of wanted to get it done. And so after the filling has cooled, then you want to roll out the puff pastry dough, because at least mine is 1/4 of an inch thick right now, and the recipe calls for it to be 1/8 of an inch, so I just need to roll it out a little bit more. And then we're gonna cut it into 8 4.5 by 6 inch rectangles. And we're going to put those on a baking sheet, put in 1 to 2 teaspoons of the filling into the center. Then we're gonna do an egg wash around the edge, fold it over, and do the fork fancy thing where you kind of make the little, you like seal it with the end of the fork. I don't know the anatomy of a fork, but the forky bits. You put the forky bits and you kind of smush it down. You know what I'm talking about. You'll know when you see it. You got this. So after you do that, then you want to do the egg wash over the whole thing and cut 3 kind of vent slits, and then sprinkle cinnamon sugar on top. And then after that, you're ready to bake at 400 for 25 to 30 minutes. And then you got yourself some McDonald's apple pies. I'd recommend having some vanilla ice cream. I sadly did not think in advance to make vanilla ice cream, but I can do that tomorrow. And because I mean, I'm pretty sure this is gonna make 8 pies, so I'm gonna have spares, which I'll put someplace how well they like reheat, because that will be an important factor. Or maybe I'll just make, maybe I'll make half and then the other half like 2 days from now. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. But that's the game plan. Let's get into cooking. So like I said in the game plan, the first step is to peel and cut the apples. And a little fun game you can play is to see if you can get a perfect apple peel where you have one continuous piece of skin coming off of it. So I have 5 apples that I'm gonna use, and I'm gonna edit in whichever one is the closest or if I achieve it. So you'll be able to tell how many tries it took based on how many peeled apples there are in the background. And enjoy my success or failure, because it's gonna be one of those. Now that, I'm gonna call that a success. I missed like a little bit because it was getting thin and I kind of stressed out, but it never broke, but it also wasn't like a perfect peel. So I'm calling it a win. You can tell me if you disagree with my assessment. However, we gotta move on to the next step, which is to, in the saucepan on the stove, we're gonna put in the apples, the butter, the cinnamon, the brown sugar, the salt, and the lemon juice. I'm pretty sure that's all of them. This is like all of the ingredients for the recipe. So just kind of dump it in there. Now that we have the filling kind of cooking on the stove, we want to make the slurry with the cornstarch and the water, which, fun little home science thing, if you change up the ratio, which I think it's like an even amount of each, then you can get, I don't know if it has like an actual name for that mixture, but it's essentially a Newtonian fluid, which acts as a liquid and a solid depending on like kinetic force. So if you've never played with cornstarch and water, look up cornstarch and water Newtonian fluid. It's a good time because you can like, I think there's a Mythbusters episode where they actually like run across the pool on it. I'll link that if I can find it because it's super cool. And also, like, you know, side note, me nerding out a little bit, they have speed bumps that they make with this too. So if you're going the speed limit over the speed bump, it just acts like a liquid, so you just drive like you're on flat ground. But if you're going too fast, then you hit it and it acts like a solid and you actually hit a speed bump. And I think that's just great. I think that should be how speed bumps work because I don't want to bump in my car. So like, it's like, okay, I slow down, reward me for following the rules. Thank you. But that's my rant on civil engineering and the use of Newtonian fluids. And then obviously put that into the mixture to thicken it up and then just remove it from heat. We're just gonna kind of, I don't know if I listed those as two different steps in the game plan, but add it, stir it up, remove from heat, and let it cool. Who knows how long that's gonna take? Just make sure it's cold. And then we'll start making some pie. Next is to roll out the puff pastry and then cut it into 8 4.5 by 6 inch rectangles and then put them on a baking sheet. Now we want to scoop the filling into the rectangles that we have, and then we're going to put a little bit of the egg wash around the edge and then fold it over and then do the forky thing that you're going to see what I'm talking about. I'm sure it has a name and I'll put that here, but if not, I just held my hands up for nothing and I'll probably just write, "You're an idiot." So let's do that step now. Now that we essentially have the pies all ready, next is to put the egg wash on the top, cut the vent slits, and then sprinkle on the cinnamon sugar. Now we want to put the pies in the oven, which is heated to 400, and we're going to bake them for 25 to 30 minutes. Before I even show you the final product, I just want to say that the smell of them baking in the oven, already I was like, this is going to be fantastic. Are you ready to see them? I'm pretty proud of them. Look at them. I mean, in my opinion, that's as close as I'm gonna get to the real thing. To me, the shape and all that stuff kind of hits home for the McDonald's apple pie. But the question is, how will it taste? Will it live up to, which granted, like I feel like I haven't even had a McDonald's apple pie in like 10 years. But I'm gonna taste one of these and we'll see if it brings back those memories. But if it's just delicious without bringing back those memories, I'm gonna claim it as being better, just because I can. All right, time to take a bite. We're gonna go with the one that kind of split open when I was folding, just because, you know, why not start with that one? I do feel like the ends are gonna be a little doughy, so I might need to take 2 bites, just forewarning you, but here we go. That's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I did get some of the filling in there, but that first bite was kind of mostly pastry. So when you're making it, do your best to try and get it as filled out to the edges, because I know I had a lot in the middle, which caused some issues. So I probably need to spread it out more to make the edges where it's like sealed a little thinner, so it's not quite as thick. But I'm gonna be a barbarian and just take a bite straight from the middle and see how that goes. Oh, that is hot. Oh, hot but delicious. I mean, oh, just burn my mouth there a little bit. If there was ever that, I feel like the apple pie from McDonald's, because they probably would like throw it in the microwave or whatever, was usually kind of burn your mouth hot on like that first bite, and you kind of do that, like hold it in your mouth and kind of blow on it. But that, I mean, oh, hopefully I didn't do any serious damage there. But oh, I'm gonna destroy those. I definitely need to make some ice cream. But trying to focus. Now my mind's just saying eat all of it. It's very much just like an apple pie in your hand. So if you're a big fan of apple pie, you're gonna be a big fan of this. It's delicious. And I would argue it's pretty easy to make. Like if you buy the puff pastry already done, this should be like an easy, and I have probably, well, I was gonna say 3. It is probably about 3 because I only made, well, 5 and then this little guy. So I'd say the recipe is pretty spot on for the filling to like the number. My puff pastry dough just wasn't enough to get to that number. But this would be like a good like small gathering kind of dessert thing if you're trying to impress a small group of people. And I mean, you could probably scale this up easily as well. You would just need to buy more puff pastry. And I would put this in one of those like impressive, but like not too difficult kind of ranges where if you made this for people and like showed them, they'd be like, holy crap, this person probably spent days making this. And I mean, I spent a few hours, but that's with filming and things like that. Like if you had the forethought of like making the filling beforehand, this would essentially be like 30 minutes. So if you want to split it between 2 days, you probably have like 30 minutes on each day, or if it's one day, it's gonna be like 3 hours. So depending on what your schedule's like, you can, kind of go down one of those paths that you see fit. I highly recommend you trying this. Like, I'm surprised with how good it is for how little effort I feel like I put into it, which might benefit from the fact that I didn't have to make the dough itself. Maybe later on down the line, I'll try and make puff pastry dough myself, and we'll reassess how easy this would be with that included. But with buying this from the store, definitely a 5 out of 5. Would highly recommend you should go and make this now. I'm gonna go eat, I can't eat all of them. I need to save some for ice cream, but I'm gonna eat probably more than one. And on that note, bye Mom, still not dead. See ya.